You're listening to Game and Chat, where we level up with conversations about gaming then and now. I'm your host, Daniel, aka One to Switcheroo. So let's press start and game on. Welcome everyone to Season 2 of Game and Chat, streamed directly to your favorite podcast platform. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow, or all of the above to support the cause. And with that being said, welcome back everybody to Season 2, Episode 4. We are 4 episodes in on this year and it's been amazing. Thank you so much people who have listened to the podcast, the previous episodes so far. And for those who go way back to Season 1 also, thank you very much. Even those episodes are still getting views every so often, so I really appreciate every single one of your support. So I'm talking to you guys live from an undisclosed location. We're taking a little break from the hustle and bustle of the city to relax, and I couldn't think of a better episode to talk about relaxation and unwinding, and especially when it comes down to this game. And what we're going to talk about today is not a simple game that just came out, was successful, and be done with it. This is something that literally, almost, I would dare to say, changed the world as we know it. Because of the time it came out, was like a little getaway, a little escape from reality that we much needed on the time of need. And of course, it was thanks to this game that a lot of things were brought up to the table when it comes down on like how do we interact with people, how can we make things work regardless of adversities that we might be facing. And I feel like this game in particular achieved that and even more. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna talk about the cultural phenomenon that was Animal Crossing New Horizons. As you guys know already, Animal Crossing New Horizons came out on March of 2020, so we are on his 5th anniversary this month, and it came out right before we went on lockdown with the pandemic of COVID-19, when we were so lost and had no idea what to do with ourselves. This game came to light and it was just unbelievably amazing how sort of like fresh and sort of a small relief it felt when it came out, because we were able to just go into this pocket world that we just adjust and reshape the way we wanted. No illnesses, no stress, a lot of bills to pay, that is, but all the time in the world for us to enjoy every single moment of it. And it's very important for us to reminisce it, because I feel like we won't have this sort of like opportunity anytime soon. Not that I'm wishing for another world pandemic, but my point being that a game that became so iconic for gamers and non-gamers out there, that this game didn't outreach and cause this whole commotion on like people that were able to do things even during lockdown, and it was thanks to this game. So yes, people, we're gonna talk about this today. It's gonna be a fun one. It's gonna be a relaxed, chill episode, as this game it's always been. So of course, I want to thank everybody who has listened so far. Once again, I really appreciate every single one of you. Today is all about Animal Crossing, the history of Animal Crossing, and how did we get to these new horizons that even 5 years later is still moving us from deep down. So welcome everybody to episode 4 of season 2 of Game and Chat, the healing phenomenon of Animal Crossing New Horizons. And of course, I'm gonna start by talking about like what this game came to be in the first place. When did the whole Animal Crossing fever started? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it started actually in 2000. No, wait. It was actually the year 1999 and or 2000, because fun fact, people might think that the first iteration of Animal Crossing was the one that came out on the GameCube back in 2001. However, this game actually came out on the Nintendo 64. It was just Japanese exclusive, and it was just locked in Japan. It didn't come out to the West. There were versions that made it happen, and I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe it was also developed for the Nintendo 64 DD that you guys know went to the trash bin, however. But our official, I would say, Animal Crossing was the one in 2001 back in the day. This was a first on Nintendo on this franchise, which basically consists of, like, you know, for those who have played the Tamagotchis from a long time ago, it's kind of like evolution on that. So you have your character, you are in your island, and it's all about the cozy life. As cozy is a term that we're now overused for so many things. But this is the origin of cozy. We just didn't know it yet. But anyway, the concept is simple. Just living in your house, paying your rent, making your animal friends, and just having a good time. You know, no complications, no big bosses, no side quests. Well, we can discuss over that because of Tom Nook, of course. But it was just that game that would just like turn on, and you can just relax and unwind and just do like basic stuff. And you know, smart people say that the look of the idea of the game is sort of pointless, but sometimes you just want to turn on and just do nothing, and that's exactly what this game is. This is a game about doing nothing, quote unquote, and it brings sort of like, I think it's like a perfect game for people that might just like struggle with sort of like objectives and how to like proceed through, especially with like difficult games. And you can always say that you can always go back to Animal Crossing and have a good gaming session without worrying about like things to do. You can use anything at your own pace. So that was pretty much the appealing and back in the day. And this is how it became basically a household name for Nintendo and one of their main title lines since ever since the other titles came out right after. And you know, the fact that we came back from that all the way up until here with the latest iteration, which funny enough, the last iteration between New Leaf and New Horizons, the longest fans been waiting for an Animal Crossing game, which was about 10 years. New Leaf came out on the 3DS in 2010. And yeah, we had some things in between of like that weird channel on the Wii U, and then the Amiibo Festival game. I'm sorry, Animal Crossing fans, that you went put through that. But it finally was the time for a new Animal Crossing game. And like I said before, it could have been a better time than the one it came out. So I already talked about briefly that New Horizons was the newest iteration. It was announced on the Nintendo Direct of 2019, the same Direct that actually Isabelle was announced to be a new fighter on Smash Bros. Ultimate, which was crazy at some point. But I mean, we have Villager. I feel like Isabelle was basically a shoo-in in regards to joining the roster. However, then we finalized the Direct with the announcement of a new Animal Crossing coming out in 2020. And we were all very excited. We were all very looking forward to it. And then the world shut down on February, late February of 2020. I remember just recently both of us being like laid off from work, and we were just finding things like what could potentially be doing to keep ourselves busy. And then this game came out, and you know, the whole boom, because yes, Animal Crossing has been around for a while, and I understand that it might not be for like all people, but I feel like a lot of minds came around that time because there was literally nothing else to do, and say like, hell, I will just try this and see how it goes. And now all the unraveling that happened afterwards was just amazing. And I mean, to prove a point here, the game itself, after it came out, on the first 6 weeks, it sold 13 million copies in just 6 weeks. This was something that doesn't happen often at all. Like, the game outsold the whole lifetime sales of ARMS back in the day in the first 6 weeks that it was released. Is no question that it was like extremely big in Japan, but actually reached out to other parts of the world that the game wasn't even popular, and it charted every single week, at least in the top 10. I want to say for that almost like maybe like 6-7 months, it was just insane. And it's just because the game just became from simply just being your basic life simulator to basically became sort of like a virtual gathering place, for people that during isolation, you will see families, friends, and even businesses to like use the game to like socialize and like, just keep things running as usual. And how they really, like I said, changed the landscape of the world on how we can like proceed with things. We were facing ourselves with like being on lockdown, so we weren't able to socialize, so we need to force to video chat. And this is when Zoom became a thing too, and became the boom of like meetings, more like in the corporate side for businesses that had to keep running somehow. But also the fact that we got this game and all people, especially businesses, started to take an interest in how the game interacted, because it was like the huge hit. It was the boom. It was what everybody's talking about, and it was just unbelievable to see the results of it and how big it became afterwards. We're talking about people literally doing graduations, weddings, and birthday parties during lockdown through Animal Crossing. I mean, one of the first things that comes to mind for me when the whole lockdown started and made me realize how big this game was going to be. The writer of Star Wars Rogue One, his name is Gary Whitta. He basically was one of the first people in the industry to came up with sort of like a talk show through Animal Crossing. So he built up his island, he bought a lot of furniture inside the island, and he made his little basement like this talk show studio, and started having people as guests, and like people will tune in on Twitch, and it was massive. The show was called Animal Talking, which is perfect for the occasion. And I do remember seeing most I remember is that they had guests like Elijah Wood, which got into the game because of the pandemic. And then we also had Brie Larson. Captain Marvel, the first movie, was already out around that time, and there was like a huge hit, so she had her as a guest, and you will see the Twitch chat going boom. People saying, oh my god, Brie Larson actually plays this game. And we can mention a ton of things, but the fact that people came up with this creativity and they managed to make things work through this game, not only we're talking about social and like just like playing and having a good time, but actually businesses making a profit out of this silly thing. I mean, it's mind-boggling, and it really makes you like think and consider, it doesn't matter the adversity that you may face, you can always find a way to make things work. And I think this game was an example of that, and the fact that people use their creativity to make things happen like that. I mean, we're talking about like I said, weddings, graduations, gatherings, like birthday celebrations, and and it's easy because there's a lot of items and a lot of things that you can get in the game. Some things harder than others. We'll have people that work extra hard than us. So listen, you come to the Animal Crossing Island during my birthday and you give me 10,000 bells, or give me like a rare fossil that I didn't have from a museum, I'll be extremely happy, because I know I wouldn't put the hours, all the hours in the world to do that. So I really appreciate that it really came up to that, and how this game in particular was, and I feel like it's going to be something that's going to be remembered by even like years and years beyond this. We're talking about maybe Switch 6, and we will be still talking about how Animal Crossing literally changed the world, and how literally Nintendo was one of the most successful companies during the pandemic because of this game alone. Now, moving on from the impact and the world-changing aspects of the game to the actual game itself, let's talk a little bit about how this game made and really like stand out from other Animal Crossings, I mean, pandemic aside, and how this gave even more freedom and creativity for us to how we can like interact with these animals and characters inside the game. And they really did expand upon like previous iterations. I mean, for the first time in the series, we were able to actually customize the island to our liking with terraforming, which is something that couldn't done before. You will be able to pick up like the island or like the neighborhood, depending on the game that you played, of which you want to live, and like the landscape will like be different. But this is actually, you can reshape the island the way you want. You can make it like Mario's face, you can make it like an X, whatever you want to do it. It was really, really cool to see that we're able to literally like just reshape it on our own. Yes, it is a lot of work. It is an insane amount of work because you have to do it with the shovel and one thing, one tile at a time. So you'll go and you'll see, you know, one of my favorite things that I would like to about this game is just visit the other people's island and see like the level of creativity that it will become. You will go there, people, and you wouldn't think that's the exact same game that you're playing. Like, these guys really put a lot of effort and time in their islands to make it look nothing like you would see anywhere else. So kudos to the avid Animal Crossing players out there because they really knocked it out of the park with the island customization. Another things that were introduced was also crafting, of course, which was the first introduction to the crafting system. We now have a purpose for all the materials, not only to sell them to Tom Nook to get some bells and pay our rent, but we also can use them to customize and like build our own furniture in order for us not only to save money but also like to give a little extra use to the materials that we normally didn't use. And how it really added a little bit of a sort of like that's kind of like the Breath of the Wild element that was added to this game, the fact that we're able to use the materials to craft items. Although you cannot craft in Breath of the Wild itself, you can cook, yes, but you can craft weapons, unfortunately, hopefully for the next iteration. But anyway, that's another topic. But yeah, I mean, the fact that we're able to gather resources and like build the furniture, the tools, and more items, it really added like that survival-like element to the game. Especially because we're talking about like the premises of this game is like you are on a deserted island, and along with Tom Nook, you start in the little tent, and then you start building your own stuff little by little. So it really is something that make the game even more engaging than it was before. We have the introduction to Nook Miles, of course, because in the world that everything is sort of like a subscription service, like rewards program, of course Tom Nook will get into the capitalism side of things and add Nook Miles. We had our Nook Phone, which was actually pretty cool, pretty useful. The fact that we're able to shop over the phone also is really cool too, kind of like a la Amazon, and then be shipped out to your address was really nice. But I mean, this was a new type of currency that allowed players to basically unlock special items and travel into mystery islands. And, you know, it was a little bit making the progression a little more goal oriented. You know, the fact that you will get like extra, you have this many miles now, you can either exchange it for bells, or you can get this like exclusive item that you can only get through Nook Miles. So that was alone super cool, because you wouldn't only rely on bells to basically just get everything in the game. You can actually have another alternative to do so, especially because you get rewarded if you get a certain amount of miles, Nook Miles. You will get like a bonus to your bank, and then you will get like, extra bells by just saving it. And like you know how this thing works, people. Everybody has a bank account, so of course. We got the multiplayer features for the first time. Before, we were able to go to other people's towns but not actually interact with people. Now, since the 3DS, but now perfected on the Switch, now we get more multiplayer features, and, you know, up to 8 players will be able to visit a single island at the same time. And this will create a lot of possibilities. And you've seen it online, you've seen it on stream, people doing hide and seek, people like doing races. Like, again, like what this game did when it comes down to creativity and what people can do is just unbelievable. Like I said, we talk about weddings, like birthday parties, like hide and seek, matches, fashion shows, even people that were doing their own RuPaul's Drag Race in the game, which was very funny. And then all that just came through to like just the fact that people were able to interact and have fun, and only within a single island, and with a seamless connection too. The connection with Animal Crossing was actually very stable, and as far as I can tell, nobody had any issues when it comes down to visit other people's island and any of that. And of course, we got, since we are on the era of seasonal updates, Animal Crossing was also part of this too. So Nintendo really made a commitment, and they did a few updates in the game. Depending on the season, you will get like additional content. I will say though, it could have been a little bit more fleshed out and a little bit more creative, like New Leaf or even City Folk did on the Wii, that we had like the Zelda outfits and the Mario outfits. Yes, we have some items from like different games, but I believe like we have more customizable items before. But what they brought to the table was really nice. I mean, we're actually talking about one of the things that really made a huge splash when the game was revealed, is that for the first time in any Animal Crossing, you were able to put furniture outside your house, and literally you can even make a junkyard outside your apartment, and you can just move them and put them there however you want. So that was actually really cool, because it added even more level of personality to the island, so people will go even crazy about it with the customizations. And the fact that they kept like launching more elements and like items for you to either like outfits for you to put on, and items that you can put in your island or inside your house, it really made it a little bit exciting. I will say though, I feel like support for the game ended a little bit too soon. I believe it ended late 2021, early 2022, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I feel like they kind of sort of gave up a little bit faster than anticipated on that, but projects keep moving. I'm very sure we're gonna get an Animal Crossing for the Switch too, and if anything, it's gonna be revealed. I don't think it's gonna be revealed this year. I mean, it's not a prediction, already did that, but I think it's gonna be somewhere between 2026 and 2027. I might be wrong though. It seems like the game made a huge splash. If they wanna put an Animal Crossing this year with a Switch launch, besides all the possibilities, especially with Mario Kart 9 on the horizon, that would be mind-boggling. We're talking about like one of the biggest launching consoles like ever made. They really want to go with everything against Grand Theft Auto 6, because that's literally gonna blow everything else out of the water. But who knows? Maybe Nintendo will be the judge of that. Now, moving on to what this game like really mean. I mean, we talk about gameplay and we talk about like how it came out at the right time with the pandemic, but this game did more than just like connect us during isolation, but also give us a little bit of escape of some of those like sort of like dark places that sometimes we go in our minds, and especially during a very rough time like that was. It really made an impact on mental health and like when it comes down to like connections and like community building, when you are not able to do that physically, I would say. And it felt sort of like a therapeutic gameplay. I mean, the fact that you're able to do this relaxing, non-stressful gameplay, and it provides an escape. It provides an escape to any sort of like illness or anxiety you may have in your life, or your daily life in general. And like I said, people might look at this and see that, oh, it's so silly, like this game you just water plants and like walk around and talk to animals and fish, and what do you get from it? Like, and the answer is, you're right, absolutely nothing. But listen, I'm relaxed, I'm chilling. That's all that matters, right? And how this is sort of like brings some level of comfort to people. There are things that we were able to do during this time, and the fact that we're able to do them through this game, it was very helpful. And you would think that doesn't have an impact on your daily life and like the daily basis, but it really, really, really does. When you look back and the things that you weren't able to do, and the changes that we need all to go through, because the world changed the day that we went on lockdown, and the day that we went out of lockdown was a completely different world, people. For me, it's like 2020 didn't happen. For me, 2020 was like we were a year in suspension, and then we just came back to it in 2021, but with all the disadvantages, I would say, that caused. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that this game worked as some sort of like coping mechanism, and the fact that, like I said, brought people from the gaming and from the non-gaming industry together, and to the point that this is one of the things that, if you were to list 10 things that changed or that were like groundbreaking during the pandemic, I would believe that this game would be probably in that top 10 for sure. Maybe top 5, I would even dare to say, because of that sense of comfort and relief that bring every time we turn on switches and play while we were in isolation, but still we were able to sort of like communicate and to interact with people in the other side, or with loved ones that we couldn't see because of different reasons. And this is what we said about what it means, connection in isolation. Like, this allowed people to really connect with your loved ones, your friends, to virtual means, and when they couldn't do so in real life, it really became a platform for genuine human interaction. And a lot of people, like, really, like, you see, like, people like made friends through the game, people that got together because of the game, and it really made sort of like it became sort of like a life simulator, but aka like friendship, aka a dating simulator for others. It was just unbelievable what that game made. And we mentioned a few about the viral moments that happened like during the pandemic, and like how it was trending consistently. Literally, I don't remember any single month of 2020 that Animal Crossing wasn't trending, and how with people would come up with like different crazy stuff going on. We talked about the talk show. Like I said, we talked about people like doing fashion shows, weddings. It even turned aside into the political aspect of things, with presidential campaigns being running in the game, and like activists that using the game to like put their voices out there. It was just unbelievable. It was just so cool to see, like I said, for me, it's like a lot of people have the stigma that consoles or video games are just for games and are just for children. And you will think that this game, like, by the way it looks, this looks silly or this looks stupid, but at the same time, like, the fact that so many were so into what it could achieve. Like I said, the best things that could happen to this game is that the release date. And I don't know if it was a coincidence. I mean, we couldn't predict the pandemic, but at the same time, I feel like Nintendo did a really, really good job, because I believe this game was going to come out actually in 2019, and then it was pushed back in 2020. Yet again, 2019, we didn't exactly know if the pandemic was going to be as big as we experienced it. However, the fact that it came out on the right time, it really made it even more and more successful. But you might be thinking, like, after such a huge success, and how all the circumstances played in this game and Nintendo's favor, where do you go from here? I mean, it's been 5 years since the game came out. I mean, the pandemic is way past behind us, and the game was already like ended like support, or like the seasonal updates that are like pre-programmed for the ones I'm talking about, the one like with the Easter bunny, and then like Christmas, and then Halloween and things like that. But when we're talking about the next iteration of the game and how this is gonna really focus on different aspects, and Animal Crossing New Horizons, as a great game as it was, like, it had its drawbacks, and only thing you can think of right now is just to improve upon those things, because overall this game was pretty much whatever any Animal Crossing fan was wishing for years from now. It's very hard to see where do we go from here, and like I said before, given the huge amount success that this game, we're talking about, as of this date, I believe it's 47 million copies, which is it's on the top 5 best-selling titles on Nintendo Switch as of 2024 at least. And how do you follow out such a huge success? I mean, we're not gonna wait for another world crisis to hit to release Animal Crossing, but I believe that from my perspective, we're just gonna get a new iteration. It's gonna run better. It's gonna have more features, more customizations that we couldn't fit before. Now, how do we feel about a open world Animal Crossing? How would that work exactly? And because this is a conversation that has been brought up a couple times online, and for that I will say that I don't think we're ready for that yet. What I'm mostly thinking is maybe find sort of like open zone kind of situation, and maybe don't have one island but 2 islands that you can go back and forward, or the fact that you are able to actually move to another place. I believe the biggest changes that a game could have is based on like gameplay and like some of like the core mechanics of how they revamp those things. Like, for example, before you had to save every time that you would do something on the GameCube and the older version. Otherwise, Mr. Rossetti will come in and warn you that if you keep doing that, you might be able to lose your progress and your island forever. Actually, looking back on how Animal Crossing was played, it was very, very, very tricky, because it was all tied up to your memory card. You lost that memory card and you're doomed, my friend. And also, that's something that can be probably improved upon when it comes down to New Horizons, because yes, we have the island transfer system, and then whether you will get another new Switch, you will need to go through all this work to just move one island to the other. So it was very, very, very much of a hassle, especially if it didn't work properly. Then you wouldn't lost the entire thing, it could be very, very painful for some people. So I feel like this might be where the biggest quality of life improvement would go for the next iteration. Once you're able to figure out some sort of way to make a seamless transition, or to be able to back up your island, or just simply make it like a regular game, just have a nice seamless save point, and it doesn't matter if you download the game to a console or another, it will just gonna transition seamlessly. I feel that would be like the best case scenario on that regard. When it comes down to gameplay itself, of course, more ways to customize, more ways to terraforming. Maybe we go from, maybe we actually adapt the city folk again, and maybe make it even grander and bigger. I do see at some point Animal Crossing taking a little bit of an outcake on cities itself, be able to do skyscrapers and like different floors, different buildings, like shopping centers. I mean, now, okay, now the open world started to make sense a little bit. It will be a lot of work, yes, but that will actually mean years and years and years of gameplay and support and, infinite possibilities of what things you can do. I mean, when it comes down to multiplayer aspect of things, I mean, Mario Kart is already allegedly introducing the 24 player format for online connectivity. So why don't you make this like big hub that people can just go and you can just meet people on the fly live. You know what? Actually, that makes sense. You see, we're brainstorming here, people. What about, you know what? I'm gonna circle back a little bit. What about, yes, we still have our island, we still have our city, whatever. We had a little bit of couple of extra customization. We can only not build houses. We can also do apartment buildings. We can also do other sort of businesses. Maybe even assign jobs to the villagers so they got all in charge on a certain thing. That actually would be pretty cool. But what if we make like this big hub? I mean, we're talking about, for example, you know, like how Street Fighter 6, for example, had this like the fighting ground, the fighting hub that everybody will like go there and like meet their avatars and then make fights and all that. Now make that like a city, let's say like downtown, basically. I do remember, I think it was New Leaf that had like the downtown area that you would just go and then you will find like the hairdresser, the stylist and all that. Make that, but make it like a city. Somewhere that everybody can just connect online, go, interact with each other. It could be a mall. People can go shopping there. You can also introduce special items that you can only get through this method. And just make it like a big hub, like a big city, or like a big like center that everybody can gather around and just interact and be able to exchange items, to exchange bells. Why not? Maybe introduce like a full-blown bank transfer system. Have people send bells to other people in a more seamless way. I believe that would be like freaking cool. You know, make the life more lifing simulator for all that matter. And I don't know. I mean, we can go through so many things. How about this game can like introduce in the future? And yes, it could be bigger and it could be grander. At the same time, it has to be easy. I feel like this game, the key point of this game being successful is the fact that it's very, very, very accessible for so many people. You don't want to put too much into it because they might turn into something cozy and relaxing to overwhelming and uncontrollable at some point. So this is how I see the future of Animal Crossing in general. I see something a little bit that interaction and more ways to communicate and like be in touch with people all over the world will be crucial. Maybe they'll finally introduce voice chat, you know? I mean, this game would be perfect for that. I mean, of course, we know how Nintendo feels a little iffy about the whole voice chatting situation. We don't want to run into, you know, very uncomfortable situations. If they manage to do that in some sort of regard, you know, maybe they can apply some sort of like proximity chat. I think that's something that you can probably mitigate, you know, how on Among Us, you can, for example, if someone is following you, you can hear them, you can chat with them, but then as soon as they walk away, you just don't hear them anymore. Something like that can work. That way you're able to just hang out with the right people, and then if somebody's trying to be a nuisance, you can just walk away and be done with it. Anyway, infinite possibilities for a game that is about all the possibilities you can think of. And it all comes down to that and how you can improve upon something that was great, make it even better, but also keep the coziness, keep the amazing. And I say cozy, I know this is the birthplace of cozy games and cozy gaming. I mean, you can see how so many farm life simulators came out there after Animal Crossing was a huge hit. I believe the only one that came close to like be like up to par was Stardew Valley, and the fact that Stardew Valley had that such a huge success up until this day's team being supported and so many people playing it. I haven't played it myself. I don't know if I'm gonna. I don't know. The game aesthetic doesn't appeal to me very much, but I do understand where people come from when it comes down about like customization and possibilities. I think this game you can also like grow old and everything. You know, that's also something that they can get inspired and, you know, will introduce to the next Animal Crossing, like actually like years passing. Maybe your villagers can actually grow old. So yes, I mean, what this game did for the world was just amazing. And we see so many people, so many companies all trying to replicate that fact. But I think the fact is that Animal Crossing came when the world needed it the most. And I don't think we will see something like that for a very, very long time. And if we do, I hope it's not in the end of the world. And with that, people, we have reached the end of episode 4 of season 2 of Game and Chat. Animal Crossing New Horizons was the title that deserved its own spotlight, and what it did, like I said before and so many times throughout this episode, it's just unbelievable. And where the series goes next, I trust Nintendo will keep the success and the improvements going to levels that we cannot possibly imagine. But anyway, thank you so much for listening, everyone. I feel like this is something that you guys will appreciate as much as I appreciate you. But real quick, favorite villagers. Let's see. I like Raymond, which is the cat with the glasses. I think he looks super cool. I like Apollo, the bald eagle. I think that's also a good one too. I do have to go back to one of my first 2 villagers, which was Sylvia, and which is the kangaroo, and Chip. The reason I liked them the most is because the first 2 villagers that moved into my island when they started the game. So I always make sure to I don't play the game very often. I'm sure they all hate me by now, but I always have to check it every so often to make sure they don't move. If they do end up moving out of my island, I'm gonna be so sad if they do. But yeah, I mean, and this is the thing, that you get attached to these the silly little characters that they're not real, but at the same time it's like, oh my god, why? I remember it happened with New Leaf. There was this cat, I forgot the name, and especially because the games back in the day were very, very outspoken, to put it on a very, very nice manner. And the fact that I remember when I opened the game and I read the letter and I saw the sign that they were leaving, I said, hey, you never called me, you never showed up, so I decided to leave to a new adventure. Like, oh my god, it actually made you feel bad. Oh god. But yeah, I mean, those are my favorites. Of course, favorite location, I will say my favorite location in the game it's always been the Roost. I believe the Roost, but the coffee shop is it's really, really nice. The music is so relaxing, and that whole, I don't know, there's something about that whole sequence when you ask for the cup of coffee and you see Brewster just picking up the coffee, filling it up, putting the cup, and then the whole, I don't know, there's something really, really cool about it. So it's sort of calming and relaxing. So I always gonna stop by to get my cup of coffee right before my playing session. But anyway, guys, we can mention a couple of things from the game. Of course, what's your favorite character of Animal Crossing? Who is your least favorite character of Animal Crossing, and why is Tom Nook? We all know why is Tom Nook. But anyway, thank you so much, everybody. As of what I've been playing this week, I'm on vacation, so I'm just relaxing with my husband and my puppy, and we're having a great time. We are refueling ourselves to Taco Life once more when we get back. Episodes are still on schedule, so don't worry, we're still gonna go ahead as intended. So look forward for the next couple of episodes of Game and Chat. We are nearing the reveal of the Nintendo Switch 2, the full reveal of the Nintendo Switch 2, I should say. And rest assured that after that presentation is over, we will go and talk about it and see if our hopes or dreams will start to come through. Once again, everyone, it was very nice talking to you today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for the support, and I hope to see you guys on the next episode. This is Daniel, aka One to Switcheroo, signing off. Game on.